ABC News crime and terrorism consultant, former G-Man. Good morning, Brad Garrett.
Good morning, McGraw.
So in Missouri, we're having this fight. Missouri is one of the states that has not passed a real ID law, and there's a lot of opposition. A lot of people in Jefferson City do not want a real ID for the citizens of Missouri. There's a rub with the national government. What's going on?
Well, a number of years ago, Congress passed a Real ID Standards Act, which basically said, look, you, the states, we understand you give out the driver's license to people. However, for it to meet TSA standards, it has to be basically encrypted some way, either with a chip or mag strip that has your personal data located on the actual license card. And so as a result, I think your state, among others, are saying that's potentially an invasion of privacy. And there are some states, McGraw, who've actually passed a law saying that they're not going to do it.
This was passed during the Bush administration, I think part of the original Patriot Act, if not something similar to that. So the federal government is now saying, fine, we've given you guys enough time. If you don't pass this, your citizens of your state will not be allowed to fly.
Well, yes, they'll be able to fly, but they have to come up with alternative identification, like a U.S. passport or any other document that the TSA deems is acceptable. So what it would require is for people from your state to bring extra ID with them to the airport.
And having this chip in your new ID, can you combine that with a driver's license?
Yes. In other words, the states that are in compliance now have a version of that. This goes, I think, twofold, McGraw, which is not really discussed in this Real ID standards thing, is that it gives more verification of who you are, and it also allows them, hopefully, to cut back on the use of fake IDs to get aboard planes.
Is using fake IDs getting aboard planes a big problem?
I don't think so, but I think in the past, there has been a concern about, is this a legitimate driver's license? I think with this, if you implement what's in this law, that it cuts down the possibility of being able to fabricate driver's license.
Yeah, I do find it interesting. In the state of Missouri, they want to pass a law that says you must show an ID to vote, but they don't want to pass a law to create a real ID to cut down on fraud for getting on a plane.
Right. Yeah. And it still goes back to all that personal data, I think, is why your state and others have a rub.
Right. But they don't want personal data for the real ID, but they don't mind personal data when it comes to voting.
Gotcha.
Let's quickly, while you're also here, you want to touch on how bad is this addiction, heroin prescription drug problem in the U.S.?
Well, I'll give you an idea. It was about 9 per 100,000 in 2003. That's overdose deaths. It's now up to 15 per 100,000. 125 people die a day either from heroin or some drug overdose. And it just seems to keep going up and up and up. As you may well be aware, there was a big switch from prescription drugs to heroin just because of availability and cost. The Mexican drug cartels saw a market, and they have flooded the U.S. with heroin. And I think it's demonstrated partly in these stats.
Yeah, pretty scary. And we're in the middle of it right here in Missouri and in St. Louis. Brad Garrett, ABC News crime and terrorism analyst. Thanks for checking in, Brad. Have a good day.
Take care.